All right, it's all yours. Just watch John.
Thank you, Chuck. Can everyone hear me all right? Yes. All right, perfect. So this mouthful of a project, scaling up biochar applications for accelerated stormwater runoff reduction in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. I will be referring to that as the Scaling Up Biochar or the sub-project throughout the rest of this presentation. And before we jump into things, I want to get a show of hands of people who are familiar with the Chesapeake Bay watershed. All right, looks like, all right, and
Raise your volume a little bit, please.
Just pull it closer to you. There you go.
is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I've been told I'm soft-spoken, so just let me know if I get excited and move around and you can't hear me again. Okay, so quiz question, who can name the 6 states that are within the Chesapeake Bay watershed? Not you, Chuck. Who is a brave volunteer? All right, we got a hand?
Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York. Is that 5?
Yeah.
Count DC? Let's throw them in there. And the District of Columbia.
DC is not a state, but did you say West Virginia?
I did not say West Virginia, I said Virginia.
Okay, good job. We'll cover that later with a map in case anyone missed it. All right, so about this project. This was an incredibly collaborative project that successfully grew the biochar community in the Mid-Atlantic region across 6 states over 3 years, which concluded in May of this year. And I really can't emphasize how big of a project this was. There'll be slides following up on this, but it really was quite an undertaking that we learned a lot, had to reevaluate initial assumptions from the beginning of the project as far as what people knew about biochar and how it could be used in stormwater applications within the watershed. All right, so a little bit about the Center for Watershed Protection. This was an organization that was formed in 1992, and our mission is to advance clean water resources and healthy ecosystems through responsible land and water management. There were about 24 to 25 staff, and we are all over the country. And once again, just to emphasize the scale of this project, our little organization, I'm pretty sure every single member of our staff worked on this project in some way, shape, or form. And additionally, our 4 major project program areas are research, training, membership, and watershed and stormwater services. And for this project, a lot of our experience was from extensive background in research in stormwater and watershed services, specifically with direct experience in designing green infrastructure or green stormwater infrastructure or stormwater BMPs, as well as construction oversight and maintenance inspections. All right, so this is me. My name is Alexandria Wilkins, and I work with the Center as a watershed resources professional, and Chuck was nice enough to introduce me with my whole bio. But I did want to say that my role as a part of the sub-project involved project and grant management, as well as research, synthesis, and outreach with regards to biochar. And this has been my most in-depth experience with biochar to date, and I am not a biochar expert. So I may get something wrong, and if that's the case, just, it's fine. With that, we'll walk through our agenda for this presentation, which is we're going to start off talking about stormwater in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Then we're going to go into the background of the Scaling Up Biochar project along with its purpose. Then we're going to go over the implementation aspects of the biochar project, as well as key insights and considerations, and then some aspects that we're looking forward to as the Scaling Up Biochar project team. And then we'll move into questions and Q&As and experiences shared. All right, so big picture of the Chesapeake Bay watershed. It is the U.S.'s largest estuary, and it has the largest land-to-water ratio of any coastal water body in the world. It covers 64,000 square miles, includes 6 states and the District of Columbia. As mentioned earlier, that's New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia. I think there's a little bit of West Virginia, and then there's also DC. And a little bit more information about management of stormwater in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. It's not a nightmare, but it is quite convoluted. Management of the bay's restoration is organized by the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Agreement, and for stormwater, this focuses on the reduction of nitrogen, phosphorus, sediment specifically, and also each state is required to develop watershed implementation plans to meet these reductions. So ultimately, there's a whole lot of modeling, planning, tracking, and reporting, AKA bean counting, that makes things somewhat overly complicated, but it's for a good goal. All right. So as part of the Scaling Up Biochar project, the question is, why biochar? I'm sure everyone here already knows why biochar is amazing. It acts as a carbon sink, it improves soils, promotes plant growth, and in stormwater it retains pollutants from runoff, and it also includes things as part of a circular economy in terms of using waste materials, including them in practices to be used. And it can go in the circle over and over again in theory. All right. So a bit of background on the project. Things sort of started with the University of Delaware's research. They focused on wood-based biochars from the Pacific Northwest in bioretention and soil amendment applications, and these were found to increase infiltration, water holding capacity, and plant survivability and growth. And from there, we move into the establishment of this project. Of course, there was a lot of things that went into this, a lot of organizations, which we'll follow up in the next slide. So the goals of this project were to justify that biochar should be added and provide information such as design criteria, credit calculations, material specifications, reporting, tracking, and verification requirements for the end user, for the municipalities who are inputting the bioretentions, the rain gardens, the stormwater practices. And based on the name of the project, the overall purpose is to accelerate the rate and scale at which biochar amendments were applied in urban landscapes throughout the Chesapeake Bay watershed to specifically support runoff reduction and water quality improvements. So the structure of the project, there was a core team composed of the Center for Watershed Protection, the US Biochar Initiative, which led partner engagement and expansion, the University of Delaware, which focused on testing and validation of materials, and Infinite Solutions, which provided planning and implementation of biochar amendments and technical support in that realm. So those core partners were referred to as the Biochar Partnership for the Chesapeake as the core team. This also included implementation support, implementation partners, those that we partnered with to input projects in the ground during this 3-year project, and the larger community of practice, which focused on education and really getting people the basic information about biochar and how it could be used in stormwater practices throughout the Chesapeake Bay watershed. All right. So something that was emphasized throughout the project, and it quickly became apparent that despite assumptions that people may have been ready to go with biochar and knew what it could do and knew how to use it to a certain extent, conversations and feedback through the community of practice and questions during interviews with potential implementation partners, we soon realized that there was a need for basic biochar knowledge in the community throughout the Chesapeake Bay. So this resulted in the 3 R's. First off, we have the right source, which includes considering the biochar's feedstock, its quality, and the production process to produce the biochar, as well as the right place, which refers to the project location or the area of the project that the biochar would be incorporated into, and the right use, which considers the objective goal or the outcome sought by biochar's use in the project. And these all need to align for you to really have a successful biochar project. I mean, this applies to any biochar project, I would say, but specifically to stormwater, this was found to be very effective. And additionally, there's arguably a 4th R, which is the right rate, which refers to what the optimum amount of biochar would be for your purposes to go along with the place and the source and the use that you are promoting. All right. So we're jumping into implementation as part of the Scaling Up Biochar project. So as part of this project, we targeted the following types of stormwater BMPs or green infrastructure or green stormwater infrastructure or nature-based solutions, whatever your area calls these things. We have bioretention at the top of the list. For our purposes, we did a lot of bioretention or rain garden installations because they're very common. There was also some soil amendment. And because the project was focused on the urban sector as defined by the Chesapeake Bay program for this grant, that was the focus. The targeted BMPs for this project included the options listed here, and the BMPs in bold are those that have been built to date specifically. All right, next up, a brief overview of our implementation. This included over 40 projects, prevented 332,958 cubic feet of stormwater from entering the bay without being treated, as well as estimated pollutant removals of approximately 350 for nitrogen, 33 pounds, that's a typo, per year per phosphorus, and about 65,000 pounds per year per sediment. The next couple of slides, I'm going to walk through specifically the biochar enhanced bioretention media, the importance of soil vendor partnerships as part of this project, and the incorporation of biochar for typical Chesapeake Bay watershed applications, mostly focused on bioretention. So here we are, starting off with wood-based biochar, and any region's existing bioretention media would be resulting in biochar-enhanced bioretention media, referred to as BEBM. So as a part of this project, we proposed the biochar-enhanced treatment for bioretention practices, which would involve the inclusion of biochar as biochar-enhanced bioretention media in existing bioretention practices for enhanced runoff reductions within the Chesapeake Bay watershed. And if that sounds like it's phrased oddly to you, it is because of the way things are organized in the Chesapeake Bay for managing stormwater BMPs and them getting credited and approved, and just the way they talk about them. So, including the biochar, it's been proven to increase soil porosity, increase the water holding capacity and infiltration as far as enhancing the runoff reduction within a BMP or within a bioretention. All right, so the soil vendor discussion is actually very interesting. This was not a part of the project from the very beginning, but it soon became apparent in talking to our implementation partners that in urban areas, they either didn't have the space to store the raw biochar, or delivery was difficult based on the narrow windows for delivery when dealing with project implementation. So partnering with the soil vendors was really a very effective and efficient way to streamline the incorporation of biochar into the stormwater BMPs, in terms of they would mix the biochar into the bioretention media, so they would blend the BEBM for each project, and they would deliver it to the site, and oftentimes the contractors would say that it was just the same as using any other bioretention media mixture, and just as easy to implement. There was a lot of trial and error in working with the soil vendors to determine the best methods for mixing in the biochar to prevent breakdown of the particles during the mixing process. Let's see. All right. So when it comes to implementing biochar into new bioretention projects, using soil vendors, this is very easy peasy, like I just described. You know, you work with the soil vendor, they blend it, they deliver it, it's put into place by the contractor. They were very happy, went smoothly in, I think 90% of the cases, and like I said, very easy peasy. Now, when we get to incorporating the biochar on site, so this involves, in most cases, this would involve the implementation partners collecting biochar from the soil vendors, since they would act as a hub or a storage site, since I already mentioned that there wasn't a lot of storage for the urban partners on their sites. So they would go pick it up, and then getting on site, it was often helpful to have a staff member or a BPC partner member on site to direct them in how to go about mixing things. So there was a lot of, you need to be careful about erosion and sediment control, be sure you check the weather to make sure it doesn't rain immediately after implementing the biochar, be aware of it being windy, because we don't want the biochar just blowing off site, and also making sure that you have water available and ready to dampen the biochar as it is being applied on site. And additionally, this is both for bioretention and soil amendment or meadow projects, but the recommended way to mix the biochar on site is to use a power harrow. This isn't always it's not always possible in urban applications, but in more rural applications, it was much more possible and very useful for a consistent incorporation of the biochar throughout the existing soil or the bioretention media. All right, and so we have a couple key insights and considerations to recall from the past few slides. So first off, we have the 3 R's. Remember, you want to focus on the right source, the right place, the right use, and make sure that those are all in alignment for your preferred objective. Then we have biochar benefits and credit limitations in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Because the Chesapeake Bay watershed is, let's just say, difficult when it comes to crediting and stormwater BMPs, or convoluted, maybe not difficult, there are limitations to the way biochar can be credited. Biochar has lots of co-benefits, such as like plant health and carbon sequestration, among other things that benefit stormwater BMPs, as well as removing nutrients and sediments and stuff. But those, like the co-benefits, might be more effective than the actual reduction of nutrients, if that makes sense. And then the importance of working closely with soil vendors to blend the biochar and make it easily accessible to users. And the fact that training is needed for designers, engineers, and contractors, as these were areas where implementation into the BMPs was held up. Initially, we thought we could add biochar into shovel-ready projects, but that wasn't always the case in terms of change orders, and maybe the client was really into biochar, but the designer and the engineer were more hesitant, so it was better to get them in at the beginning of the project. And then there was definitely hesitation to implement biochar without official standards. So oftentimes during the community of practice meetings we had, everyone wanted to know about a spec. How can they use it? What can they copy and paste to put whatever in the ground with biochar in a way that was correct? And even though throughout the process we created a lot of guidance, it's still very difficult without the implementers doing their own fair bit of research to know that what they're putting in the ground is going to be as effective as possible. All right, and looking forward, we're currently working, the Center for Watershed Protection is currently working with USBI to develop biochar guidance for stormwater applications, and we have submitted an application or a proposal for a second phase of funding through NIFWIP, and we are impatiently waiting to hear back from them this fall. Lastly, here are some project photos. So this is in Arlington County, Virginia. It's a bioretention. In February, it was just put in place. I don't know exactly when it was planted, but this is what it looked like in August of this year. And then I wanted to thank all of our BPC members and our implementation partners. Everyone put in a ton of work into this massive project, and it couldn't have been done without anyone else here. All right, thank you.